Alright, folks, welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is part 2 of our dive into the wonderfully weird world of idioms and Young Sheldon. Last episode, we unpacked some of our favorite expressions from the show Bless Your Heart, that dog won't hunt, and fish out of water. But trust us, the well runs deep.
Oh yeah, Young Sheldon is an idiom goldmine. So today we are keeping the fun going. And remember, these phrases aren't just filler, they are packed with culture, emotion, and character dynamics. That's what makes them so special.
Let's kick it off with one of my favorites, throw someone under the bus. There's a scene where Missy totally outs Georgie in front of their parents, and Sheldon says, "You just threw him under a bus." He doesn't mean it literally, of course.
Yeah, that idiom means betraying someone, usually to protect yourself or make yourself look better. It's funny because Sheldon is usually the target of it, but sometimes he does it himself and has no idea why people get mad.
Another great one is the pot calling the kettle black. Mary uses this in an argument when George accuses someone of being lazy and she claps back with, "That's the pot calling the kettle black." Boom. Southern mom mig drop. Meaning you're accusing someone of something you do yourself. Classic hypocrisy call out. And what I love is, Sheldon hears that and actually tries to understand the kitchen metaphor. Why are the pot and kettle arguing? He just can't let it go.
Here's one that pops up a lot, walking on eggshells. Usually in emotional moments, like when George and Mary are arguing, and Missy says, "We've all been walking on eggshells around them lately." What a visual, right?
Yeah. It means being super careful about what you say or do to avoid upsetting someone, and you totally feel that vibe in the house when tensions rise. It's subtle, but the idiom says it all.
Okay, time for a classic, bite off more than you can chew. Sheldon uses this when Georgie tries to fix a car engine without really knowing what he's doing. It means taking on a task that's too big or complicated.
Right. And ironically, Sheldon never thinks he bites off too much even when he's trying to solve quantum equations at age 10, but when others do it, he's quick to call it out.
I caught cost an arm and a leg in one of Mimo's scenes too. She's complaining about a mechanic's bill and says, "That's gonna cost me an arm and a leg." Meaning, it's ridiculously expensive.
That idiom is everywhere in real life too, and when someone like Mima says it, it just feels so natural. Her language is full of those southern and old-school idioms that make her character sing.
Speaking of Mimo, remember when she told Sheldon to get off your high horse? That was gold.
Yes, that idiom means stop acting like you're better or smarter than everyone else. And who better to say that to than Sheldon Cooper?
Honestly, I think get off your high horse should be said to Sheldon at least once per episode.
Facts. Oh, and another one. Put all your eggs in one basket. That comes up when Mary talks about college savings or job risks. It means depending too much on one single plan or outcome basically. Don't gamble everything on one thing. Sheldon tries to disprove that with statistics, of course, but the idiom sticks because it's emotional logic. That's what idioms are. They reflect human fear, hope, and everyday risks.
Totally. That's why we are doing this series. Idioms in Young Sheldon aren't just for flair, they reveal how different characters see the world. It's what makes the show so rich, especially if you're learning English or trying to understand American culture.
And hey, if you're a language learner out there, here's your homework. Rewatch an episode, pause when you hear a weird phrase, and try to figure out what it actually means. You'll be amazed how many idioms you'll find.
Now, we are diving into one of the funniest aspects of the show, how Sheldon completely misunderstands idioms and turns them into comedy gold.
Yup, and I think it's more than just a running joke. It actually reflects something really deep about language, that idioms don't follow logic, they're messy, cultural, emotional, and that drives Sheldon crazy.
Exactly. Like the time someone says, "Let's play it by ear." Sheldon literally looks confused and says something like, "I don't have any instruments with me." For him, playing by ear makes no sense unless music is involved.
Right. But of course, the idiom just means to improvise, to go with the flow, which, let's face it, is basically the opposite of how Sheldon operates. He wants everything planned and scheduled.
Another hilarious one, hold your horses. Someone says it to Sheldon when he's rushing through a task, and he actually looks around and says, "I don't have any horses." It's like, "Oh, of course you don't, Sheldon."
But he's being honest. That's the beauty of it. Idioms are abstract, and Sheldon lives in a world of literal interpretation. So hold your horses, which just means slow down, becomes a logic puzzle for him.
And there's "break a leg," the classic phrase for wishing someone good luck. When Missy says it before a school play, Sheldon panics and goes, "Why would I wish physical harm on someone I care about?"
That's such a classic Sheldon moment. He's trying to be polite, but the idiom goes against his rational brain. And I love that the writers never make fun of him. His confusion is genuine and often relatable if you've ever learned English as a second language.
Absolutely. That's what makes this show secretly brilliant for language learners. You're literally watching a genius struggle with idioms the same way a new English learner might.
Another funny moment, George says something like, "We'll cross that bridge when we get to it." And Sheldon replies, "Why would we be near a bridge? We're not even leaving the house today."
That one gets me every time. It just means we'll deal with that problem later, but Sheldon can't process the metaphor. His brain wants literal, step-by-step reality. And that brings us to the deeper theme, Sheldon's inability to read between the lines. Idioms are like emotional shortcodes. But Sheldon sees language as something that must be precise.
Totally. That disconnect creates both comedy and conflict. His friends and family speak the way most people do, full of expressions, metaphors, and sayings. But for Sheldon, every idiom is a code that needs cracking. Which is why I love how he starts to learn. Like by season 4 or 5, he doesn't always correct every idiom. He'll just roll his eyes or say, "That's a silly expression," and move on. Growth. People. Character growth.
Exactly. And you can tell he's absorbing more than he admits. It's like idioms become his secret language lesson, and through them, he starts understanding other people better.
So true. He may never fully embrace idioms, but he begins to grasp their social value. That's a big deal for someone like Sheldon, whose world starts and ends with logic.
You know what we should do next episode?
What?
Let's make a list of the top 10 idioms Sheldon misinterprets and explain each one, including the episode and the context. It would be hilarious and super helpful for English learners too.
Ooh, I love that. Let's break it down episode by episode. Idiom. Meaning. How it's used, and what Sheldon thinks it means. Educational and funny. We're on brand.
All right, folks, stay tuned. Next episode, Sheldon vs. Idioms, Top 10 Logic Fails. You do not want to miss it. And if you're learning English, remember, if Sheldon can struggle with idioms, so can you. You're not alone. Keep learning, keep laughing, and don't take every phrase literally, or you'll miss the joke. All right, Sophy, before we wrap this up, I want to throw in one more Sheldon classic. It's not rocket science. I think Pastor Jeff said it to George or Mary, and Sheldon immediately interjected with, "Actually, it's more complicated than that."
Yes, he completely misses the point. That idiom just means it's not that difficult. But of course, Sheldon can't let it go because for him, comparing anything to rocket science is a scientific argument, not a figure of speech.
And that's what's so hilarious. Most people hear an idiom and just absorb the meaning. But Sheldon dissects it like it's a lab specimen. And that gives the show so much replay value. You can watch it for the family drama, the nostalgia, the science, but also as a study in how people actually speak. Especially in Texas, with all those regional quirks and sayings. It's kind of brilliant when you think about it. The more idioms you learn from young Sheldon, the more you start noticing them in your own conversations. And Sheldon, by misunderstanding them, helps us understand them better.
Exactly. Like when he questions an idiom, it forces us to ask, what does that even mean? Where did it come from? And suddenly, you're learning something without realizing it.
And for our listeners who are learning English, here's the takeaway: don't panic if idioms confuse you. They confuse geniuses too. Sheldon has a 187 IQ and still thinks kick the bucket is a physical act. So don't stress, it's a process. Keep watching, keep listening, and keep asking questions. And remember, idioms are living language. They evolve, they are not always logical, and sometimes they make no sense. But that's what makes them beautiful and hilarious.
Okay, Alex, final idiom of the day. Let's go with the icing on the cake. Watching Sheldon trying to understand idioms, that's the cake. And his reactions, that's the icing.
Sweet and a little chaotic, just like this show. Alright folks, that's a wrap for today's episode. Thanks for sticking with us as we explored the wonderful world of Sheldon Cooper and the idioms that baffle him. And if you loved this episode, make sure to catch the next one. We're putting together a top 10 idioms misunderstood by Sheldon list with actual episode references and funny breakdowns.
Plus, we'll be doing a Mima special soon. Her sayings are a mix of sass, wisdom, and old-school Southern spice. You don't want to miss that.
So follow, subscribe, or just write an idiom on your fridge to remember us by. Until next time. Keep calm, don't spill the beans, and whatever you do, don't put the cart before the horse.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Bye, everyone.